It is 15,000 years ago. A wolf is starving at the edge of a human camp. Every instinct it has says run. The fire is close. The humans are close. Everything its body knows about survival is screaming at it to disappear into the dark. It doesn't. It waits. It watches. And that one decision, made by one animal in one night, is the reason there is a dog somewhere in the world right now that knows your name. But here's the thing nobody tells you. We didn't domesticate the dog. The story you were taught, that prehistoric humans found wolf pups, raised them, trained them into obedience. That story is almost certainly wrong. The timeline doesn't work. The biology doesn't work. And the real answer is so much stranger that when scientists first started uncovering it, they didn't believe it either. So what actually happened? Start with what the world looked like before dogs existed. Wolves and humans were not friends. We were competitors. Same prey, same territory, same landscape. When we crossed paths, it was not a Disney moment. It was two apex predators deciding whether the other one was worth the energy. For hundreds of thousands of years, that relationship didn't change. And then slowly it did. And it started in the one place nobody thought to look. The trash. Human camps produced waste. Bones, scraps, the parts of an animal too small, too tough, too inconvenient to eat. For a wolf on the edge of starvation, that waste was something else entirely. It was calories that didn't require a hunt. It was survival without the risk of being gored by a mammoth. So some wolves started lingering, not close, not trusting, just nearby, in the dark, just outside the firelight, running a calculation. And here's where it gets strange. The wolves that could tolerate being near humans without panicking, they ate. The ones that couldn't didn't. And the ones that got too bold, too aggressive, too threatening, humans killed them or drove them off. Which means the only wolves that survived near human camps were the ones that were just calm enough, just tolerant enough, just slightly less afraid than all the others. Nobody was breeding them. Nobody was selecting them. Natural selection was doing it on its own. The wolf was domesticating itself. We know this is possible because a Soviet scientist proved it. 1959, Siberia. Dmitry Belyaev takes a population of wild silver foxes and runs an experiment so simple it almost sounds stupid. He breeds them for one trait only. Not size, not intelligence, not strength. Just this. Which ones don't panic when a human gets close? That's it. That's the whole experiment. 10 generations in, the foxes start wagging their tails. 20 generations, they're seeking human contact. 40 generations, less time than it took Rome to fall. Belyaev has foxes that whimper when you leave the room. That roll over for belly scratches. That watch your face the way a dog watches your face. He didn't train them. He didn't raise them by hand. He just selected for calmness. And the animal rebuilt itself around that one change. But here's the part that should make you stop. The foxes didn't just change in behavior. Their bodies changed. Floppy ears appeared, spotted coats, shorter snouts, curled tails. Features that had never existed in wild foxes showed up within decades. The outside of the animal started to reflect the inside. Calmer, softer, younger looking. Scientists now call this the domestication syndrome. And it shows up across every species humans have ever domesticated. Dogs, pigs, horses, cattle. The same cluster of juvenile physical traits, appearing every single time you select for reduced fear response. The mechanism is something called neural crest cells. Cells that migrate through the embryo during development and influence everything from stress hormones to facial structure to coat pigmentation. Dial down the fear system, and you don't just change the behavior. You change the face. You change the body. You change what the animal looks like from the outside. Which means the transformation happening at the edge of those human camps wasn't just behavioral. Generation by generation, those wolves were physically becoming something new, something that had never existed before. And at some point, we don't know exactly when, we don't know exactly where, one of them crossed the line entirely, walked out of the dark, into the light, into the camp, and stayed. The oldest confirmed dog burial ever found is in Germany, a site called Bonnobercastle. 14,000 years ago, a man and a woman were buried alongside a dog. But here's the detail that changes everything. The dog was sick. It had been kept alive through illness, fed, cared for, sustained through a period when it was completely useless as a working animal. Someone chose to keep it alive for no practical reason at all. That is not a wolf being used as a tool. That is a relationship. And whatever happened between that human and that dog It had already been going on long enough to mean something. But now comes the part of this story that almost nobody talks about. Because this transformation wasn't one-sided. While the wolf was changing, so were we. Humans who bonded with dogs had real advantages. Better hunts, earlier warnings of predators at night, companionship in conditions that destroyed people who were alone. The humans who formed the deepest bonds survived at higher rates. And they passed that tendency on. Your body is not neutral about dogs. It never was. When you look into a dog's eyes, both you and the dog release oxytocin, the same bonding hormone that fires between a mother and her newborn child. You are not choosing to feel that. Your nervous system is doing it automatically, below the level of thought, because it was built to, and the dog was built to trigger it. That muscle above the dog's eye, the one that raises the inner brow and makes the expression that breaks you, it only exists in domestic dogs. Wolves don't have it. It appeared during domestication. Evolution grew a new muscle in the dog's face, with one specific purpose: to reach inside you. Think about what that means. This didn't start with a plan. There was no prehistoric human who looked at a wolf and decided to build a companion. It started with a starving animal in the dark, making a calculation about fire and food and survival. It started with scraps. It started with garbage. And it ended with something that had never existed in 4 billion years of life on this planet. Two species that didn't just live together. Two species that rewired each other, that changed each other's bodies, changed each other's brains, changed what it meant to be the thing they were. The dog is not a tamed wolf. It is a new animal, one that could only exist because of us. And we are not the same humans we would have been without it. We shaped each other in the dark, over thousands of years, without either of us knowing what we were building. And what we built was something neither of us could have become alone. The wolf didn't become a dog because we wanted it to. It became a dog because it decided we were worth the risk. And somewhere along the way, without ever making the choice consciously, without ever saying the words, we decided the same thing about it. We still have.